Hey, this is Anthony from Indestructible Noise Command, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
This is Michael, the Metal Angel, otherwise known as Metal Milieu, and I'm speaking to the one and only Anthony FABRIZI from the band Indestructible Noise Command, otherwise known as I.N.C, who have a brand new album out called Terrible Things, and have basically, I guess, been around more or less for 30 years, but you took about a 15-year hiatus, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We actually formed back in 1985,
Right.
And as far as the hiatus, it was over 20 years.
20 years, okay. It's hard to believe.
Yeah. Time goes by too fast, that's for sure.
Well, I listened to your first two albums incessantly when I was in college, and to me, those will always be my favorites. But I am very impressed with the new album, as I've told many people. It's a good throwback. It embodies the new style, but it's a good throwback to the old style. So. And I've seen one review from Autothrall so far where he, gave you guys the same kind of idea that it's a good throwback that fans of the past will appreciate it. Because a lot of us were a little jaded when you guys did form and, they did the EP and a couple of the other. I think Blackhurst Serenade was good, but the other two, I have to admit, I was like, because we're not stuck in the 80s, but we loved the sound of the first two albums.
Right. I think when we reformed in 2010, you got to remember it was 20 years since we had performed together as a band or had written together as a band. And we certainly had our hands in our own musical projects on the side. We all, never truly left the music scene, so to speak, because, as a musician, you always find some way to fill your creative outlet there. But when we finally reunited in 2010, we were thinking like, how are we going to pick up from where we left off? We're different people now. We're 20 years more mature.
Right.
Our musical tastes are slightly different, even though we're metal through and through. There's always that factor of influence and maturity, if you will, has gone on in your life. So how is that going to translate on a CD?
Right.
Yeah, and it took us a bit, but we at first. We just kind of say, hey, listen, we're going to do what we feel we need to do, start writing, start recording, and in time it'll naturally evolve. And it ended up with Terrible Things, which, like you said, is a real throwback, it's almost like a real salute to our roots back to where we came from.
Yeah, even with the tongue-in-cheek lyrics and some of the political type lyrics and everything like that. I don't know, it's something about the Giant releases, especially like when I first heard Razorback, the songs were long, but they were heavy, but they were crushing, but they were also like clever. I mean, when I listen to like, when you're like Anarchy, when you're just like, running wild and all that kind of stuff, it almost sounds like let's go do some shopping. Let's go out tonight. We better wear our best of suits. It almost sounds like you were like watching the movie, I got my notes here, A Night of the Comet. or one of those like, type of movies or something. And it kind of just like, it had that whole 80s vibe. I have to ask you, is The Visitor based on the 80s TV show V?
It is not, I don't believe. Erik being the really creative one in his writings and stuff like that. I think it was just Erik likes to delve more into the fantasy side of things for the most part. He's got a very creative mind in that respect, whereas some of us and myself lean a little more towards the reality side, which is a nice compromise.
Right,
we end up putting our ideas together and we come up with a final product. But even back in the day, I don't believe he wrote it based off that TV series V, because I don't even know what year that came out now that I think about it. So it was quite a while ago. Yeah.
Really, I would have thought just the lyrics. It's just like talking about the minds are erased and all that. I was like, wow, it just sounds so much like that. But I just kind of thought.
Well, I think the TV show stole it from us. Can I say that?
No. TV show is 82. Yeah, still, but that's just the album cover obviously doesn't reflect that, but just the lyrics alone, I thought maybe for sure that was based on V. And obviously, once again, it was rooted in the 80s and everything. But I mean, to this day, I still quote so many lyrics from The Visitor. It's ridiculous. Your mind is like a fucking drunken dry heave. I still say, I mean, as I was texting you last night, scammed again. I just literally got scammed on Amazon yesterday when I tried to order a Demon CD, and then they're like, "Oh, this will be a CDR." I'm like, "What?" So you don't call me buddy because you're a crook. You're not my friend. So now, is there a little history to scammed again? Did you guys literally get screwed over? Because I saw I remember always reading the liner notes like, "We want to take such and such out to dinner and poison their food," and
Yeah. So all of those lyrics were written for very specifically for certain people in the industry. So yeah, you hit that right on the head. That was, if I recall, being involved in writing that song, or when Erik wrote the song and we were all talking about it, it was very rooted in a lot of people that were very close to the band and had their hands in the mix at that time, and it basically reflected what the lyrics were. It was about being screwed over when they promise you one thing and they do another, and sure enough, and that's how the song manifested itself, and it still stands to this day. It's
I agree. Don't call me buddy because you're a crook and not my friend. I hope you're And I always loved the way you guys would do the interludes on so many songs, whether it's Fear or Hypodermic Coastline. You start doing those little jazz, like those little jazz interludes. It's just so like, what are they doing? Or even the Ole with the little Spanish acoustic. That was always cool the way you mixed it up in that respect too, not just lyrically but musically, the different time changes and it was just. I mean, I remember a lot of people calling you guys like, oh, they're thrash. I'm like, really? Because they're like technical speed metal. I mean, you listen to The Visitor compared to Razorback, and then it's like, no, I don't even know it's thrash. Because there was a lot of bands that were thrash at that time. And seeing that, the bands that you were obviously I'm surprised you guys toured with Pantera. They must have been in their early rendition before Phil Anselmo joined, right?
No, Phil Anselmo was in the band at the time.
Okay, so it was a power metal tour that you guys were touring with them.
Well, when we did the gigs with them, it was back right before Cowboys from Hell came out.
Okay, so it was 89, 90, okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. If I remember, let's see, it was just before they got signed. The first album was Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah, Atlantic. Yeah, on East Coast.
Yeah, so it was right about that time they had an EP out, correct? If I remember correctly.
Maybe.
Back in the day, and it was it might have been an underground EP, but we got our hands on. It was a demo tape, and they came up from Texas, and we were doing the shows with them. And shortly thereafter, that gig was actually a showcase for Music AR representatives, and that was, I believe, what led to them being signed after that gig that we performed with them. That was a really surreal experience. At the time, you knew something magical was happening in the music scene. You knew that this thrash metal, this metal movement was up and coming, and it's not like it was contrived or planned on our part. We were just a bunch of kids in high school that were emulating our heroes. We started as a cover band, and it's kind of naturally involved into songwriting and then playing local gigs, and local gigs became tri-state area gigs, and next thing you know, we're gigging with bands like Pantera, and they're going off and getting signed, and I was only just graduated high school when I recorded Razorback. I just graduated high school.
Wow, okay.
So we were young.
yeah, I was young too. I was a freshman in college, sophomore in college when those albums came out. So yeah. So, and yeah, you talk about covers. I know so many people are like, why did they cover the Cars? But I love that when I had my cassette and I heard that, just what I needed, Candy-O, I need just, I had Candy-O and 8-track. I totally could relate to that. So,
Yeah, well, that shows our musical influence. We weren't born listening to heavy metal. Obviously, we're a bit older. I'm dating ourselves here, but we're coming up into the 70s. Hard rock was, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, the Cars, and things like that. That was rock and roll. Absolutely. And that was some of the earliest influences we were exposed to, believe it or not. And so, we reflected back upon our really early childhood, and we said, hey, wouldn't it be a goof just to do that song? So it came up, and we decided to throw it in there. It wasn't meant to be, we, as you can tell by listening to Razorback, and especially The Visitor, we had a bit of that humorous side to it.
Absolutely. You're like, you sound like you guys are having a lot of fun. How did you get Rob Wacko Hunter from Raven to come in and do the production and stuff on that?
Well, I think he came with the Pyramid Sound out in Ithaca, New York, where we recorded the album. We wanted to find a studio that we thought would best suit, being that it was our second record. We wanted a bigger, fatter sound. We knew what we wanted, and so we looked at the bands around us, like, well, where are they recording, especially closer to our area, and you know, SOD, Anthrax, Testament. So we went out there, and sure enough, when we called and we spoke to Alex Perialis, who I believe is still running that studio.
I think so,
I check in. Yeah, I check in with him every now and then. But he, Rob Hunter, was the engineer and behind the board, and what a pleasure it was to work with him. Just a true gentleman, a true professional in the industry, and really navigated us through that process.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, after he left Raven, we're like, what? But then we started seeing all the albums he was producing. We're like, whoa, okay. That was always the thing. Rob Wacko Hunter produces this. And yeah, Alex Perialis, I could definitely see that. So fast forward to now, is this a complete DIY project? Because you guys aren't really signed for Terrible Things. I mean, right? There's no like real distribution, is there?
So this is a self-produced CD that we, and it kind of went through the same process as the last album, Black Curse Serenade. So we recorded at Dexter's Lab Studios in Milford, Connecticut with Nick Belmore, drummer for Dee Snider, and he also tours with his band's Toxic Holocaust that you might be familiar with. So we recorded at his studio where Hatebreed also records, and so we kind of followed suit with that, but however, this is a self-funded record. We felt like the last album, Black Curse Serenade, listen, we had management, we had a record label, we had booking, and, you know, as you probably heard us 1,000 times over, if not more in the industry, there's a lot of artists that end up saying, geez, you know, this isn't the way we wanted it to go. We would have preferred if we did it this way. And usually the record labels and management have a different perspective that is not necessarily congruent with the band's idea. So we said, listen, how bad could it be? Let's record this ourselves. Let's self-release it. Let's self-promote it, especially on the early stages. And let's create music that we're proud of and that our fans would like to hear. So,
yeah, I remember Charlie saying, he's just like, I know you love the new Overkill, but nothing's faster and thrasher than the new I.N.C. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. I'll wait to hear it. And then when John Asher sent promos out, not John Asher, whatever, John sent out promos. And it was just like, oh, wow, this is pretty fast and thrashing. And then more and more I started listening to it. I was just like, wow, from the minute it starts with, I didn't even know you were calling it Fisco Rec. I'm like, I don't know what a Fisco Rec is, but just that whole intensity of that opening of that album, like, damn, this is really punishing. This is really fast. So right away I got on, I don't really like social media at all. So Facebook's pretty much it for me. And as soon as I got on there, I started posting, and people were just, a backlash was like, no way, they suck, they've gone downhill, they're so I always get that, they're so modern, they're so updated, and I'm just like, we all age, and a lot of people, are stuck in the 80s and just can't get out of that. I personally, try to open up. There's a lot of bands that, the newer thrash I just can't get into. I try, but I don't blame the kids for trying, but I just think it's rehashed for me. But when a band that's been around for a long time puts out a new album, I definitely want to promote it any way I can and definitely, listen to it. And I was just like, the solos are there, the tongue in cheek. He's even got the Sam Kinison type back again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really is. And I think it's great. Sometimes DIY is the best way to do it. Because then you don't have to deal with like everybody else's opinion, like you say. You guys just decide what you want to write, what you want to do, how you want to do it, and then you get it out there and hopefully get enough promotion and recognition.
Right, and we're already seeing with the onset of Terrible Things, since it was released on March 8th, a better initial response than Black Curse Serenade, which had some momentum behind it from the label and management. But this time around, we're seeing much more positive feedback, better reviews all the way around. We're getting very, very strong reviews on the CD, and we're hoping that train continues to roll down the track and the word gets spread around on that.
Yeah, and I think you did a was it a lyric video for YouTube as well, before the album came out that kind of got people, is that true?
I believe so. I believe that's Erik at work. I think he threw a lyric video out there for, it might have been Fisco Rec. I'm not even sure of the initial track, but that was our initial track, and then the video came out, as you probably saw. We turned into a party there, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything, whether it's identifier, I mean, even the clever play on words of Pledge of Allegiance. My favorite track is Bonesaw Ballet. That's just punishing. It's just so it's just so good. I guess it's a good thing. Did you guys make it available on vinyl? Because obviously vinyl is pretty popular right now too. Did you guys make it available?
It's not available vinyl as of yet. I'm sure we'll consider that at some point because, like you said, that is trending back that way, and most certainly,
big time. Especially if you get any festivals in Europe, yeah, if you'll sell vinyl big time. If you get any festivals in Europe booked or anything like that. So you guys are firefighters. You actually, that's your real. Oh my God, that's so awesome! Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So noble. Yeah. I listen to your guitar work and think about, oh my God, these guys are so proficient, amazing guitarists. And I'm thinking maybe you're doing session work or something like that. You dedicated your life to saving others. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's been it's a unique, interesting career. You know, we walked away from the industry back in 1990, give or take, and after The Visitor, you know, we saw the writing on the wall. A lot of people wondered why we walked away, and it was just we saw a lot of dissension in the industry. We were victims, like other people, of the being scammed again, like you said, and we kind of got tired of that. We said, hey, listen, we're going to take a little break and we'll reconvene and see where we go. And sure enough, unfortunately, that break was 20 years, but what people didn't realize, we decided to establish ourselves in careers, and myself, I became a firefighter not long after that, and Dennis came on about 7 years after me. So, you know, I'm almost 26 years into my career now, and Dennis is 19 years. So we've done a lot of service for our city, but we still and always have enjoyed playing music and love heavy metal and thrash metal.
So awesome. There's something about the music from like 86 through 90 that I listened to that just never left my mind. Lyrically, musically, I mean, my wife and I were fixing our son dinner, and I was just whistling the music to Fear, or whistling the music. It just, she's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. That stuff sticks with me. I can't remember what I did yesterday or last week, but that stuff sticks with me. I'm great. The formative years, I guess they were. So
yeah, well, you know, to me, that's probably one of the nicest compliments we could receive as a band, is the words you just said, that we know how we're inside someone's head at any given moment. You know, when they're home taking care of their family, or they're out at their job, and just to make, because that was the whole point of doing it. It's like to share the creativity and the artistry and music that we love, and to send that out to some people, and hopefully they like it too. And it's just one big family. It's like firefighting. You know, they say firefighting is a brotherhood. The music industry, the bands you see, and the cohesiveness with the fans, that's the other side of it. We get to enjoy it twofold.
Yeah. And to this day, my friends when we listen to that music back when we were in college and stuff like that, we still teach her, like, what are you looking at? Don't look at me. Are you crazy? So it's like, there's something about, there was something about that vibe, or that milieu, or that energy, or that time set that made such a difference. And there were so many, you know, independent, like maybe 1 or 2 albums that came out by certain artists that just disappeared. And I think I.N.C was one of those bands, you know, and then when you guys came back and stuff, I think we just had that, like, oh, they're back, you know. And then of course you have to realize, 20 years have expired, you know, there's just, and the fact that you've been firefighters and you're still, you know, playing music for fun, that's like Matt Barlow, formerly of Iced Earth, you know, giving up his career as a singer or vocalist to become a police officer. You gotta love that. I mean, you know, most people get into music just for, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and, you know, and then they're just still trying to make a living off that, and they're just one member left in a band trying to keep that band alive, and it's just so disappointing. It's like, just call it quits. But you guys are doing it because you have a passion, alacrity, excitement for doing it. It's not something you have to do, but you do it, and you put out an album that's totally kick-ass in every way, shape, or form. It's thrashing, it's lyrically well written, it's very well produced, it's independent. You know, are you guys going to be touring anywhere in the U.S. at all?
Yes, so we have a gig we're going to be announcing shortly. I don't know if I can really say it at this point. But there's a festival we're going to be playing, and that'll be announced very soon in the U.S. That is the only gig that I think we're going to have solidified at this point. Right now, we are entertaining the notion of trying to find whether it's a booking agency. However, our push right now, believe it or not, is not only to try and get some shows within the U.S., we are looking at going overseas.
Absolutely. We have highly recommend that.
I know Erik did sign or create a deal with an agency over in somewhere over in Europe, might be Greece or Germany, and they're working the festival circuits. And so we're going to try to hit that market, see what we can do. However, as far as the U.S. goes, I think possibly summertime or late summer, you're going to see some dates tied in conjunction with this festival I speak of. You're going to be seeing hopefully whether it's how long it will be, I don't know, a short run of shows, but it all depends upon the success and how the album is received as well. And as I said earlier, we are a bunch of guys that, except for Dave is not married, Kyle's not married, but Dennis, Erik, and I are all married. We have careers, we have families, we have children. So just kind of unplugging yourself from that life and going on the road for 9 months isn't feasible for us. Oh, God,
no, not 9 months. Vacation time.
Exactly. So we're looking at trying to be very calculated, smart, and hit the market and get enough shows in there so that we could expose ourselves and give people the opportunity to see us live, and while also pushing the CD.
I definitely, if you can get Greece, if you can get Germany, if you can get Sweden, any of those places, they'll eat you up alive. I mean, because first of all, they'll remember those albums when they came out, and they never forget that either. But they love the new stuff too, especially the Germans and the Greeks. They just love it. Period. They go crazy for it. So that is good. I definitely recommend doing that. And once again, you've got an excellent album, which I definitely champion. And I will continue to promote it. And yeah, if you give me a CD with lyrics, that would be awesome.
Yes, I'm going to get that right out to you. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I know, I don't know if, for us as a band, I can't convey this enough. We value our fans so much over the years that the ones that have never lost touch, the ones that have never given up faith on whether it's the first two albums, the Razorback and Visitor. And we're always surprised the people that just approach us, whether we're out in public or out at another show or the shows we've done in the past. I mean, I literally had a guy. I was in New York City playing a gig, and a guy came up to me with the Razorback cassette, which looked like it'd been through World War III. But he sticks it in my face and says with this strong accent, "I came all the way from Argentina, and I've had this since I was a young man." And I was I didn't even know how to respond to that. I was just so humbled by it. Thankful for it. So just know on behalf of myself and the rest of the band, all the fans, and for guys like yourself too, who keep it alive for us, we are forever grateful.
Once again, thanks a lot, and thank you for your service, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
Take care.